Hey everyone, this is video number 3. This is back to the basics for everyone that I'm teaching. Long story short, this video is gonna be talking about risk to reward ratios, and what I will start off this video by mentioning is the fact that I bought $6,000 worth of Russian shares, bank and oil companies, when Russia attacked Ukraine. The reason why I did that back in the day, it was 2022 when I did this, was because I saw all of the Russian assets crater on the US stock market and everything crashed, like 90-ish% within like literally a day or two of the attack. So I saw that as an arbitrage opportunity to buy assets on the cheap, and I kind of wanted to get my money outside the US anyhow, so this was just one way of doing it that I saw. So when I ended up doing it, I took extreme risk by putting in all of this money into Russian assets, but I did it because there were a couple companies that had been around for over 20 years. They were doing amazing. They didn't really have any issues, like on their balance sheet or financial statements or the income statements coming in. So I ended up dumping in all this money into like 3 or 4 different companies. And the problem with doing that was 2 days later, Biden signed an executive order to block and halt all trades, buys or sells for any American into Russian owned assets. So because of that, Charles Schwab wrote up like a 12-page document, and they sent me a notice saying, hey, we are taking away all of the shares that you own of these assets, and we're putting them in an escrow account. So they're still technically yours, you own them, but the problem is you cannot get them back unless you call the special foreign affairs, blah, 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 whatever it was exactly. So with that being said, I realized, oh shoot, this is like scary and this sucks, and I've never seen this before. So I looked it up like online to see when the last time something like this had happened, where like the government or a president tried to take away everybody's stuff. And it had happened once before, but it had been almost like 100 years since. So that taught me that somebody above you is able to change the rules at any notice, at any time, whether you believe it to be legitimate or not. And technically what they did was legal, because they did not take away my shares and say I can't get them back. They just put the shares in a specific account, and on my Charles Schwab app it still shows that I own hundreds of those shares, and it still shows up. It's just not available, and the actual amount is not showing up. So what I realized was, when that happened, my money's frozen. However, if the war stops and everything goes back to normal, this might be like a 5 to 10 bagger, depending on like how well things go. And with all that being said, what would need to happen for this to actually work is the war would have to stop completely. So I told myself, and I realized wars don't last forever. I also, just to let you guys know, when I buy something that big or put that much money inside, I don't expect to get my money back the next day or a week later or a month later or a year later. So I had the expectation of waiting, who knows, 1 to 10 years probably. It's been 2.5 years since. Still haven't heard any word about it unfreezing or anything changing. But I did kind of find the rules being able to be changed just like on a whim, just because they wanted to, after I bought something that is technically my property. I did find that as an alarming risk that I had never seen before in my life. And I didn't even know it was possible for them to take away something like that just so easily without asking for permission. So with that being said, I learned quite a few lessons that day. But yeah, so to this day, I'm still holding on to those shares, and like I said, wars will not last forever. Eventually, one side will give up. And now that like Trump's been elected, the reason why I'm talking about this and bringing this up is because I have read and heard a little bit about him, and apparently he likes to keep the peace and not have wars go on. So the 2 to 4 wars that have gone on since Biden has been in office might actually get addressed and fixed when Trump comes into office. So yeah, my opportunity or my time frame of being able to get those shares back might actually come a lot sooner than I think. So anyway, I'm not gonna like bank on it, but you never know. So anyway, this whole video is being made to kind of reiterate the risks of what can happen in the markets and unexpected consequences from like anything going on in the world affecting your investments. So just be very cautious, be very wary that anything can happen at any time, and you never know what's next. And don't ever assume that everything's going to be going the same way that it did yesterday. That's recency bias, and a lot of Americans have that. A lot of people do, actually. So, yeah. So, anyway, it was an interesting moment, and it's kind of cool that I still own it, and that I'm one of the very, 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 very few Americans who actually have the Russian assets at those prices. I know there's others out there too, waiting as well, and also sharing the same concerns and dilemmas that I ran through. So I'm not the only one, but anyhow, that story is to show you how deep I've been going into the markets and what I've been learning. And what's interesting about that is there was one day where I bought a bank that collapsed. I bought a bunch of shares of it because it was super cheap. And like 9-10 months later, everything like skyrocketed, and I like 1,000%ed my money on those shares. So I took a high risk by buying a bank that had already failed and basically filed for bankruptcy. But I will say, at that time, to be able to sell those shares, I had to call the broker because the bank had stopped following up with their statements that they had to turn in by law quarterly. So they got delisted from the stock exchanges, and they got thrown on the over-the-counter markets. So that was also interesting. So I had to call a Charles Schwab broker, and then I was asking him specific questions that even he didn't get training on, because the things that I've been doing and some of the things that I've been buying is so advanced that like even some of the regular brokers out there don't even know what I'm up to. So he had to connect me with somebody higher, and I got the right answer, and the guy higher up knew what to do, and he was able to help me out. But a lot of them don't even get training for like big incidences like this in the world. So I'm getting real into the weeds and probably like doing trades that nobody's ever heard of before, but that's how I've been learning, and I'm very glad that I've done all of this, because now I am making these videos 5.5 years later, having gone through the ups and downs and having been through a lot of like interesting circumstances and things that I've found that you can buy that a lot of people didn't even know was out there. So, but yeah, so to this day that money's frozen, so technically I guess I don't have any of it. So yeah, oh well, it's okay. Let's move on to the next thing. So, but yeah, I have invested in the US for quite some time, and I've kind of been looking at like other countries as well, and I've been investing in their index funds for years, but now I'm starting to actually like take a look around the world and see what's going on, and I'm doing a lot of research into what's going on around the world, not just here, and that's where the macroeconomics comes into play. In the next coming videos, I'll probably talk about what's going on in France, what's going on in Germany, what's going on in China, Canada, Brazil, maybe a little bit of Argentina, Switzerland, Spain, Italy, and yeah, I'm going to start like branching out a little bit. But anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you thought this video was interesting. And if you have any questions or have any topics you'd like me to talk about, definitely leave those in the comments and I'll take a look, and I'll probably try to answer the questions as best as I can. The other thing I wanted to mention, and this is probably more important than anything else that I've said in the entire video, everything that I just said in my entire channel is for research purposes only. It is not investment advice, and it is not anything that I am recommending, so do your own research. And hopefully what I have said in this video today might have taught you something new, and expanded your horizons on what's possible out there to invest in, and that the world does not surround itself around just the US. There's like a big wide world out there, so just take a look at your surroundings. So I guess there's that old saying, smell the roses before they're dead or something like that. I don't know, I'm probably making that up, but yeah, so never did I recommend anything, and never will I, but I will talk about like certain things that I have done and certain things that have interested me, so hopefully it interests you. Alright, thanks guys, bye.